Hi everyone, welcome back to week 3 of our 6-week food advocacy course. My name is Courtney from Hartford Community Action Agency, and this week we are going to talk about what we drink and how this counts. So let's talk about some tips on how we can make better beverage choices and why this is important. So what we drink counts, and that means that we often think about food, what we eat counts. It either helps or hinders our health. But often we overlook what we might be drinking throughout the week. So how can we make better beverage choices for better overall health? So here's 10 tips. So the first one is pretty easy and pretty simple for most of us, and that is drinking water. Water is absolutely the only thing that a human being needs to consume. Now, is that a reasonable and rational idea? No, but when you keep that in the forefront of your mind, it kind of makes you think about some of the other things that you may be drinking. Do you need them? Do you have money for them? Is it helpful for your health? So number one, drinking water. How much water is enough? Let your thirst be your guide. So we read a lot of things about drinking X amount of ounces of water a day. It just depends on your body type, your gender, all kinds of things. So just let your thirst be your guide. Also, focusing on water and why. So we want to save money. We've talked about in class how, nutritional tips and health facts are great, but are they affordable? Are they something we can do in our day-to-day? Water is a thrifty option. Is it free? No, we do pay for water, but thinking about drinking water from the tap when we're home and when we're out at restaurants. So water is typically free. Number 4, better beverage choices. Number 4, when we are drinking water, it's going to help us manage our calories. So oftentimes, on average, adults and children are taking in about 400 calories a day just from what we are drinking. So we can cut that back by just drinking water. Try, if you can, to have a kid-friendly drink zone. So maybe you have water available to them in a pitcher, or fat-free milk, 100% juice. Not often, but sometimes is fine. But having it available to them, and so that they can get water as needed. Number 6, don't forget your dairy. So if you are able to drink dairy, I'm trying to select those low-fat types of milks if you can, if you're an adult, certainly. Number 7, enjoy your beverage. So make sure that you're checking the serving size, that you know what's in it. That way you can think about, is this something that I really want? And after the fact, am I going to enjoy it or am I going to regret it? So just keeping in mind that we want to enjoy it and what makes this item enjoyable for us. Have water on the go. So purchase a reasonably priced water bottle that you can refill for you, for your children in your house. So you're not always buying bottled water, and it's better for the environment too. Checking the nutrition fact label. So we'll talk about label reading later in our classes, but knowing what is in your beverage again, and trying to compare what you drink across the board with other items. So knowing what you drink. So those are some 10 simple tips, because what you drink does count. Okay, so one of the biggest, sort of health issues right now would be around sugar. And that is because a lot of the beverages that we are consuming as a society have a lot of added sugar to them. So you think about your sodas, you think about your sports drinks, your coffee drinks that you might like to enjoy. But we want to think about how much sugar might be in those beverages. And there's an easy way to think about that. So 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon of sugar. Okay, so if you're looking at your beverage item, looking at the nutrition fact label, you can find out how many grams of sugar is in this item. And then you can kind of visualize teaspoons by converting that to teaspoons of sugar. So 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon. Okay. Another helpful hint when trying to figure out how much sugar is in a beverage. There are also hidden sugars. So this is just a short list of some items that a lot of times that are in the beverages we drink that are also sugar, but might not just say the word sugar. So being mindful of other words or buzzwords for sugar, added sugars. Here's a little document that I think is great to have on hand just to practice. So when you have time on your own, looking at a beverage that you might drink, like a soda or a sports drink, figuring out how many grams of sugar is in that product, how many servings, and then converting that into teaspoons and actually taking white sugar, so a bowl of sugar, and putting that many teaspoons in a separate bowl to see how much sugar am I actually consuming. And I think it's very powerful when you actually see that in spoonfuls of white sugar. So this is a helpful document to help you calculate that. And again, so, using sugar cubes or teaspoons of sugar to figure out how much sugar is in the beverage that you are drinking. And also reviewing the ingredient list and writing down those other forms of sugar that might be in your beverage that we talked about earlier. So I think it's an important exercise to practice, to go ahead and do these exercises before we get into a store so we can make better decisions. Also, I'm going to include a beverage tracking form next. So what you can do is you can circle the day of the week, list all the beverages and how much you consume each week. And then again, figure out how much sugar that you are drinking every day and try to track it for 3 days. I think it's pretty eye-opening. And this is actually something I did myself about 15 years ago when I gave up soda. It's certainly not for everybody, but once I did this exercise, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was not something that I wanted to continue to drink on a daily basis, maybe as a treat. But again, I think these exercises are pretty powerful. And so here is the document that you can use to track your sugar. So one of the biggest ways that we can get good nutrients in what we drink besides water is by consuming dairy if you're able to. So I know some folks are lactose intolerant, but we do want to make sure that we are getting calcium in our diets, and dairy is a good way to do that, and especially through drinking milk products. So what is in the dairy group? First of all, obviously all fluid milk products and many foods made from milk. And for those of you that don't consume milk products, there are alternatives. So there's other types of foods, other types of milk. So your almond milk, for example, rice milk. And then also you can get some calcium from canned fishes and from some other beans. So they're not going to be a huge source, but definitely alternative sources. And these are all the items that are considered to be in the dairy food group of My Plate. So you can look over it: fluid milks, different types of cheeses, yogurt's a big one, a great way to get your calcium, and then some of these alternative calcium products. So again, as we've discussed before, we want to make healthier choices in our life, but we also need to consider, how much is it going to cost us? Is it going to be too expensive? Can I keep this up? And I think one of the great ways when thinking about what we are drinking, or when we think about the dairy food group, how we can save money is specifically by using unit price versus retail price. So the great thing about retail price is that it is going to tell you the great thing about unit price is that it is going to help you figure out how much you are actually paying for a product, and you compare that with the same product that may be packaged differently. So for example, think about all the different ways that milk is packaged. So you can have quarts, you can have gallons. Well, what's the best deal? Think about yogurt and cheeses. With cheese, you have it shredded, you have it blocked, you have it pre-sliced. The yogurts come in squeezable packs or little packs or big containers. What is the best deal? And the way you're going to find that out is by looking at the unit price. So when you're shopping in the store next time, I want you to look at the shelf, because on the shelf you are going to see this type of tag under any item that's for sale, and there's two prices. So on the left hand side will be the unit price. That is the price for how much you are actually getting of the product, and the retail price is going to be what you pay up front at the store. So it's important that you're going to actually get to know what is a better deal by looking at the unit price, especially, as I mentioned, when things are packaged differently. So try to practice paying attention to looking at the unit price versus just the retail price. Now, typically, if you buy in bulk, normally you are going to save more money, but think about this too. Is that a good way to shop for your family? So It doesn't make sense for you to buy a big container of yogurt versus a little container of yogurt. I kind of keep this in mind. You're always going to either, save time, save money. A lot of times we can't do both. We try to do both, but think about what's best for your family. I know for my family, they eat yogurt every day in their lunches and we pack it. And so for me, I'd rather spend a couple extra dollars and get the prepackaged yogurt and not the big container. However, if I'm going to make a smoothie and I'm going to use a lot in one setting, then I'm going to go ahead and use a big package. But overall, by using unit price, I can tell what is the better deal or what's the better price. So pay attention to that the next time you go into the store. Unit price versus retail price. Next, since we're focusing on the dairy group, a great way to get some calcium and some dairy in your diet, making smoothies. So simple and easy. Now, the one thing you do need to make a smoothie at least easily is a blender. So while all of you might not have a blender, there's definitely another easy way that you can make a recipe with your smoothie ingredients, and that's by just making a yogurt parfait. And I will include that recipe in your folders, but it's essentially using all the same ingredients as your smoothie, just leveling them. So doing a layer of yogurt, a layer of fruit, a layer of yogurt, a layer of fruit. And if you don't have the blender to mix it, that's okay. You're still going to get your calcium from the yogurt. But if you do have a blender, this is a great time to think about making a smoothie. So let's go ahead and watch a smoothie being made. I'm Courtney from Hartford Community Action Agency, and I'm back to speak with you about My Plate and some recipes that you can make on a limited budget. We've already discussed two food groups, the fruit and veggie food group, which My Plate tells us should make up half of our plate. Today we're actually going to move on to our dairy food group. One product that falls under the dairy category is yogurt. And so you'll see here that I have two different kinds of yogurt, and yogurt that is packaged in two different ways. And one of the ways that we can save money when we're purchasing items from the dairy group and other groups actually is by using unit pricing. Shopping for the best priced item can sometimes be confusing, especially when items are packaged differently. So for example, you might be buying yogurt packaged two different ways. There are actually two prices that we want to pay attention to. The first one being the unit price. The next price is the final price or the retail price. I hope that the discussion about unit pricing will help you in your future purchases. With respect to the yogurt today, just so you can kind of compare, we have two products that are essentially the same. They're packaged differently. So what is the best deal? Again, it depends on if you want to save time or money. As far as money is concerned, the 32 ounces of yogurt with respect to the unit price is $2.50 per pound, while the individually priced yogurts are going to be about $3.02 per pound. So this is a little more expensive, because obviously you're paying for the convenience. So you decide what is best for you and for your family. Today we are going to make a very simple fruit smoothie. And today I actually have my son Aiden, who's 16 years old, who's going to help me. He definitely knows his way around the kitchen. He's very curious, he's eager to learn, so I will take full advantage of that. For our fruit smoothie, we have a couple of items that we're going to use. We are going to use some non-fat Greek yogurt, vanilla flavored. We're going to use some frozen strawberries and blueberries. We're going to use bananas, ice, and some low-fat milk.
Before you do anything in the kitchen, always make sure you wash your hands with soap and warm water for 20 seconds.
In order to make our smoothie, you'll see that we are going to use a blender. Just for those of you out there who might not have a blender, you can get one for a pretty reasonable price. So this is a very basic blender, and it costs about $15.
Wow.
Before Aiden adds the ingredients, just a little tip that I've learned over the years working with blenders. It's best if you put some of the things, for example, the bananas or the fruit or the ice,
that are harder to chop in first, closest to the blade.
So the first thing that we're going to need is one banana peeled and broken in pieces. Next thing we're going to need is about 1 cup of ice. Next, we're going to use 1 cup of frozen strawberries and blueberries. And then we'll add 1 cup of Greek yogurt. And finally, as much liquid as you desire.
One of my suggestions as a mom is to make sure that the kids, when making their smoothies, put one hand on the lid so that it doesn't explode, or if it does, it's covered, and then press the button to blend. Also, you can use as much liquid as you desire, as Aiden said, so you can add to it if you're having trouble with the blending, or if it's too thick, you can always add more.
Give it a little stir. Pour it. And enjoy.
Hope everyone enjoyed our smoothie making today with my son Aiden in the kitchen helping me. I would like to let you know that we will post the recipe along with the approximate price per person. I would like to note that the reason I love making smoothies is because they are so versatile. So for example, you'll see the recipe posted online calls for orange juice rather than milk. You can certainly use juice if you prefer. Also, we used frozen fruit because fruit is not really in season at this time. However, come summer, you can use fresh strawberries, fresh blueberries, and you can even sneak some veggies in there if you'd like to. Thanks and be well.
Well, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the making of the fruit smoothies. And this is something fun that you can do with your family throughout the year. It's a great way to start off your day, as a breakfast item or a snack item. So smoothies are a wonderful go-to, especially to get that calcium and your dairy in your diet. So moving on, again, we like to have a book reading each time we share a lesson in class. And for this one, we are going to be reading the book called Extra Cheese, Please. So please enjoy the reading of this book.
Extra cheese, please. Mozzarella's Journey from Cow to Pizza by Chris Peterson. Photographs by Alvis Upidus. How do you like your pizza? With pepperoni? Sausage? Green peppers and onions? Anchovies? Yuck. No matter what stuff you chop up and pile on, pizza isn't pizza without cheese. And cheese isn't cheese without milk. And milk comes from those big bony bossies on our farm. Our farm rises from the hayfields like a red mountain of buildings and silos. In a nearby pasture, Annabelle is cleaning her newborn calf. Soon we'll let Annabelle into the barn to be milked. Now that she has given birth to a calf, Annabelle can begin to produce milk. Each calf is fed from a bottle. Annabelle produces enough milk to feed 20 calves every day. But on our farm, she feeds only one. Her extra milk and the milk from other cows in the herd is hauled to the cheese factory nearby. Annabelle is quite a cow, and 1 year she produces 40,000 glasses of milk, enough to make cheese for 1,800 pizzas. If your family ate one pizza a day, it would take you nearly 5 years to eat that many pizzas. To help Annabelle make all that milk, we feed her hay, corn, and soybean meal blended together in a giant mixer. All the good things she needs to eat are measured into the machine and tossed like a huge garden salad. Annabelle really likes to eat. She chomps down 7 tons of feed in a year, enough to fill your bedroom to the ceiling twice. Every morning and every night, Annabelle is let into the barn for milking. She likes being milked and happily munches her meal while a machine gently squeezes the milk from her udder. The milk runs through a stainless steel pipe into a cooling tank where it's kept fresh and clean. Every 2 days, the milkman backs his tank truck up to the milk house attached to our barn. He dips out a sample of milk to be tested for bacteria, butterfat, and protein. Then he pumps the milk into his truck and hauls it to the cheese factory. At the factory, his load of fresh milk is pumped into a storage silo. The sample is tested to ensure it is clean and wholesome. Then the milk flows through a pasteurizer that heats it to 165 degrees, killing any harmful bacteria. After the milk cools, the cheesemaker pumps it into a stainless steel vat and adds starter culture. Mechanical paddles that look like robot arms stir the starter evenly through the milk. Then the cheesemaker adds rennet to the vat. Rennet thickens the milk. A soft custard-like curd begins to form. He lets the milk rest for 30 minutes while the curd is forming. After the curd forms, special knives in the vat cut the curd into thousands of small cubes. A clear liquid called whey oozes from the cubes. The curds and whey are then pumped into a trough-like tub called a finishing table. The whey drains into the center of the table. The curds look like piles of popcorn as workers shovel them into 2 long mounds. As they rest on the finishing table, the curds knit into a solid mass. None of Annabelle's milk is wasted. The whey that drains off is pumped into another machine where it is condensed. The concentrated whey is shipped to other food processors and used in candy, ice cream, and bakery goods. The water remaining from the process is hauled to nearby fields. There, the nutrients it contains help fertilize the soil that grows the corn and hay Annabelle and the other cows eat. Back at the factory, workers cut the cheese into large slabs that are fed through another machine called a cheese mill. Blades cut the cheese into small pieces again, and they tumble into a mixture filled with hot water. The cheese finally melts into a big shiny mound that looks more like pizza dough than pizza cheese. The blocks of melted cheese plop into forms to cool like loaves of bread ready to be baked. Finally, they take a salt brine bath. The bricks of cheese float like overgrown building blocks in a bathtub. This is where the cheese develops its own distinctive, delicious flavor. Finally, the blocks of cheese are cut and wrapped. Boxes of cheese made from Annabelle's milk are shipped to grocery stores and pizza parlors across America. Every Friday night on the farm, we make a big, delicious cheese pizza. And just in case you want to try it, I've included the recipe here. When you pile on the extra cheese, remember Annabelle and her remarkable milk.
And welcome back again. I hope you enjoyed the reading of Extra Cheese, Please. So lastly, a couple of extra, tips or information of things that we want to think about when we think about what we're drinking. Again, is thinking about sugar, and specifically where this is concerned, natural sugar versus added sugar. So if you have 100% fruit juice, the likelihood that has natural sugar is going to be pretty high, but we want to be mindful of added sugar. And the way we can even avoid added sugar is by simply, instead of drinking juice or fruit juice, is by just actually eating the piece of fruit itself. Because if we're eating the piece of fruit, not only are we not getting added sugar that we don't want, but we're going to get fiber. So we're getting natural sugar and fiber. So again, just sticking to the fruit rather than any type of juice where possible, and avoiding those added sugars. And thinking about sugar, so, we think about saving money, cutting out sugary beverages definitely, actually saves money in our wallets straight up at the, when we purchase our foods, when we're checking out with the cashiers. But we need to also think about long-term, how it's going to help us save money. And that is really with regard to your health. So saving money by having better physical health. It costs money to treat issues like tooth decay and diabetes and heart disease, where eating a lot of sugar can make these conditions worse. So think about that. You know, you're eating a lot of sugary products, drinking sugary drinks. It's going to affect you now, and it's going to affect you later, possibly. And just considering, you know, again, the cost of the beverage itself. So really, we only need to be drinking water. And if we're trying to save money, cutting out some of these extra beverages is a great way to do that. So to our mission of the week. So again, I'd like you to drink more water. So where possible, choose water. Try to use the document that I included. So the worksheet where you can figure out how many teaspoons of sugar are in your beverage, and track that over everything you drink over 3 days to see that, and put that sugar in a bowl as a reminder. And finally, we look forward to seeing you for week 4. So in the meantime, stay healthy and be well, and we will see you soon. Take care.